What up, kids? What up, kids? What up, kids? This is your Poppy. Just wanted to do some recordings and kind of tell my life story to you so that one day you can look back at it or whatnot. I know I'm never really on this side of the camera ever. I'm always being the one taking the videos or taking the pictures, but I'm going to change things around a little bit, give you something to look at when I'm gone or whenever. So, first, I'll give you a rundown of the family, how it played out a little bit, and who's who, what's what. So obviously you know Grandma Judy. You don't know Grandma James, but Grandma James' dad. You know that, of course. And then so my dad James had his dad. His name is James. His mom is Tina. He had one sister. Her name is Wendy. Wendy has a husband Donnie, a son Grant, and a daughter Kristen. Um, that's pretty much it on my dad's side that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's other things, but for the purposes of what we're talking about today, that's it. I know. And then on my mom's side, her mom and dad was Lester and Alice, and she has a sister Dottie, a brother Richard, Uncle Dick, and a brother Donnie who's passed away. Dottie had Amy, Robbie, Deanne. Amy has no kids. Deanne has um, one kid, Thomas, and Robbie had three kids, Amanda, Paul, and Chris. Um, Uncle Dick, Richard, had zero kids, and Donnie had one child, Mike. And obviously, you know your Uncle Jason and Bernice and brother and Raina. So that's kind of the history. Obviously, I was born in Ohio, lived in Medina. So I'm going to try to give you the story of all I can remember from what my earliest memory is up till current, and then just maybe keep on once a month updating. But for now, I unfortunately I would have to say my earliest memory that I have, and obviously you know your grandpa, my dad James, passed away when I was 2 years old, or almost two. Um, the only memory I have of that of my dad is I remember pulling up to the funeral home. I remember getting out of the car. I don't remember the vehicle. I remember getting out of the car. I remember walking the stairs. For some reason, I remember it was cold out. Walking up the stairs to this funeral parlor. And I can't give you a bird's eye view of what it looked like or what, but just off my memory, I remember the concrete steps walking in, and I remember going in the door. I and that's it for that. But then I also remember when it come time to see my dad in his coffin, I remember being lifted up. I don't know who lifted me up, but I remember being lifted up and looking in and seeing my dad in his coffin. And that's it. That's the only memory I have. I don't have any other memories of him. But you know, and for the longest time, I've always contemplated: is that a true memory, or is that something that over time I've just developed in hopes that that is my memory? And to be honest with you, I don't want to ask the questions. I could easily ask my mom, "Hey, is this an accurate depiction of what I remember?" But if I do that, she's like, "No, no, no. It was here and it was there. I didn't do that. You don't never." Then I feel like I have nothing, right? So I'm just gonna live the rest of my life knowing that I got to be held up and to view my dad in his coffin. But that's it. That's all the memory I have of my dad. So I remember my preschool that we went to. I remember right behind that preschool there was a lake. And I remember there was one time that we had, I don't know what it was, but I guess a news crew came in and they wanted to do a story about the preschool, I guess. And they picked a couple kids out of the crowd, and your papi was one. So I think your grandma, my mom still has the newspaper clipping of me sitting there playing at the table with the couple other students or kids playing with Play-Doh or whatever, what the news article was about. So that was my early startup of stardom. So it started early for me. Just kidding. Anyway, then I don't even remember her name, but I was following this girl around all the time. We used to play in a little jungle gyms together, everywhere we went. And I remember I was at her house. I guess my mom allowed me to have play dates or whatever. I was at her house, and we had, she had an Easy Bake Oven. We were playing with that, I think we were in her basement, and we were playing with all her toys and stuff. And I remember at whatever age I was, 4 or 5 years old, I got married. We rolled out some paper towels on the floor, and we got married. We walked the line and we got married. I don't remember her name. Obviously, she missed out, but that was preschool. And I remember, I do remember this. At this preschool, they had wooden fences, like picket fences, on their property, except for the back of the property, because that was exposed to the lake, and I guess they wanted to see the lake, not a picket fence. So that was like a chain link fence. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I remember I was rubbing my hand on the fence or something, and I got a friggin' splinter all the way up my fingernail. I mean, all the way into it. I just remember that hurt like hell, boy. I was crying like a little girl, screaming. Woo! Boy. That I do remember. So, preschool was fun, from what I do remember, obviously. It was actually pretty cool. It was like a little school environment. They did a lot of teaching and things like that, and then along came kindergarten. I remember going to kindergarten. I remember preschool a lot more than I do kindergarten and first grade, but to kind of go give you an idea of how and where we lived. We lived on our house was black and white at the time, all black, white trim. And on our house, on our street, there were three houses. One field and a small, maybe 5,000, 8,000 square foot little warehouse at the end of the block. So all our houses faced south, I believe, south. And on the east side of our house, there was a field. They built like a little museum on it now, but there was a field. I want to say maybe 1 acre, maybe 2 acres. And then there was our house, and then there was the neighbor's house, who we really didn't have any communication with other than hi and bye or get the hell off my lawn, that type of shit. But then the other house, there was our neighbors, and that was Jenny, Michelle, Frank, and Brian. Frank and Brian were the older brothers who picked on me every day, all the time, always mean. They had Phyllis was the mom and Dan was the stepdad. A dad of a couple of them, but you blended family. And we used to go over there all the time because I think mom paid them to babysit us. And now Phyllis loved her to death, still do. She was great, man. Never always hard on us when we need to be hard on, and just nice when she needed to be nice. You know, just a great mom. Um, Dan, he was just an asshole. Period. He would come home from work. I get it now. We'd come home from work, sit in his chair, and just relax, want to watch TV, drink a beer, or whatever he did. And I get it now, Dan, but you were an asshole. Every time we see you, what do you want? Get out of my house. Get the hell out of here. That's great shit. I'll never forget it. Always grumpy Dan. And anyway, so my brother and I, we would mostly hang out with Jenny and Michelle. They were the ones we went to school with. They went everything, you know. And saw their house. That was their house, and next to their house was this little warehouse. And then across the street on the south side of us, in front of my house, so in front of my house and the acre lot next to us sat this big old house, man. It looked like a friggin' mansion back then when it was my size. But if I had to guess, it was probably, I don't know, 4,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet. Pretty big. It had a wraparound deck. You know, it was just a beautiful home. It wasn't new in any way. It was just a nice big home. And behind it was a small little field again, probably an acre or so. And then they had a little barn further south of that. And then behind that, and next to that was the woods. The woods is where, you know, it's probably, again, maybe 3 or 4 acres. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But it was fully grown, hard to walk through, but that's where Jenny and I, my brother and Michelle, we always played in that woods. That was our thing. We would always make little booby traps in there. We would dig a hole in the ground and put like branches and shit on it. And try to trick each other to fall in these holes, and you know, make the, you know, tie a branch up so it trigger, you kick a wire or something, come back and smack you and shit like that. We had that thing done up. I remember a lot of times we would go to, you know, obviously go to school and we walk. To me, it was forever. Maybe it was a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to school. I don't remember, but it was a while. We'd walk through some homes, and then we'd walk through the town square. We'd make a right. There'd be a library, and then our school was called Garfield Elementary. And I remember playing on the playground, and I remember I was on the first floor. I think there are 3 or 4 floors to this school. And I don't really remember any like dirt or baseball fields. It felt like it was all just concrete and asphalt. I know there's a playground, obviously that would be some soft stuff in there, but it was, you know, don't remember too much of that. I do remember that I did kindergarten, and then I don't know the parameters, but then I had to redo kindergarten again, and years later I asked my mom what happened. Why did I do kindergarten twice? Was I stupid or something, or what, man? Dang. And she's like, no, you know, they felt like you were still feeling the repercussions of your dad dying, and you know what I mean? You weren't really feeling school. You were depressed or whatever, and not feeling the situation out, you know. So I redid school, and I remember, you know, walking back and forth to school, and I remember a couple times, you know, this one time I remember, I don't know who the hell it was, but we were walking home, and some kid came out and friggin' punched my brother right in the nose. Of course, then they ran off because I wanted to scrap with them. I was a little scrappy ass actually. I always felt like growing up that I was the one to protect my bigger brother. I don't know why, but I always felt like you had to fight me first to get, you know what I mean? Even in Arizona in elementary school, it's always been like you got to fight through me first, you know what I mean? Whenever I'd see him in some shit. But that's another day. Those are other stories. Shit, I even remember walking home with Jenny, Michelle, and my brother, and I don't know if it was from school. We were just messing around in the neighborhood one time or whatnot. But there was these kids on the corner house. They had a couple sisters and two brothers and a sister or whatever it was. And I remember they were talking shit or doing something. And I was like, man, what up then? You know what I mean? So I went up there and I started fighting one of the brothers. I started whooping him up. I was kicking him, punching him, you know, do what I do. And I remember the sister called the other brother out. So the other brother came out and tried to square up. And next thing you know, I'm kicking this brother, I'm punching this brother, kicking that brother, punching this brother. I was just working them both back and forth. And where was my brother? Watching. This motherfucker was watching me. Jenny Michelle there, watching. No help. But I worked them up both. They went running in the house, called mommy and daddy, and we just all took off and went home and shit. So that was... I remember that shit. That was funny stuff back then. That was good stuff. So... we had some... to kind of go back a little bit where the woods are at. Behind the woods, there was a railroad track. And the railroad track went, for lack of better directions, went east and west. And then there was a railroad track that went north and south. A lot of stories on those tracks. And also behind that woods, there was a creek. And in the creek, we would, in the summertime, that was a pool, right? I mean, that was just a little bit down the road. We'd get in there, get down in there, and we'd swim. We had this damn, I know it, back then I knew what it was, but it's a damn door that we would play on the, float on this creek, and this creek would go into underneath the street, right? So we would go on the door and float underneath the street, just play in that little area. I don't know what the hell we were thinking. I don't know what my mom was thinking. How the hell? There's no way in hell I'd let my kids play in that shit now. But I remember, I think even my brother, it got cut by a piece of glass that was in this creek. And that shit had to be nasty. I don't know what the hell my mom was letting us do, but we did it anyway. Maybe that's part of why I am the way I am, was that creek water. So that was many times we would swim in there, but that was fun, you know what I mean? There was no laws, no limits, no cell phones, no pagers, nothing, no consoles to play games on. This shit didn't come until we got to Arizona. So we would just go out in the woods and get dirty and play and whatever the hell shit we can get into. Those train tracks got us in trouble a couple times. Shit, I remember we used to throw rocks off the damn. The top of the bridge where the train went over and hit cars and shit like idiots. You know what I mean? And one time the cops came, we were walking back home and the cops pulled up on us and shit, we were like, tell each other fake names, tell everybody fake names. Shit. As soon as that cop got out of the car, we cracked. Folded like a fucking wet paper bag, man. Gave them our names. To this day, I can't tell you if they went and told our parents or they told us to quit being friggin' idiots and don't do it again type of shit, but we never did it again. Well, I guess we never did it again, but there were further or prior incidences where in the wintertime we would throw snowballs off. So I think it was probably the summertime when the cops finally picked us up. They told us, knock that shit off. So we did, and that was that. So there's a couple other things with the train tracks. You know, they had the box cars there and shit. We found a bag of it's probably, I don't know, a mail bag of probably 2-3 feet tall, like a duffel bag, you know, army people would wear, you know what I mean? And we found it on the tracks, and we opened it up. It was full of fucking scratch-off lottery tickets. Holy shit. We were rich. We were fucking rich. We saw these scratch-off lottery tickets. We were rich. We shit our pants, man. We thought fucking we were retired at age 6. So we took the bag and we went back into my house, my brother's house, and we didn't tell Mom about it or anybody else, but we went underneath our porch and we started looking at these lottery tickets. Man, They're fucking losers. All of them. They're all fucking losers, man. I guess back in the day, I don't even know if they do it now. Back in the day, you scratch off lottery tickets. If you lost, you were able to tax deduct them or some shit. So people would collect them up and then turn them back into the mail for a tax deduction. I don't know. But sure as shit, every one of those fucking tickets were all losers. And then mom finally caught us, and I'm sure she whooped our ass or whatever the hell happened. And I remember getting our ass whooped. Trust me, there. It was our ass whoopings were grab a branch off a tree and you're getting welted, man. You were getting worked over, man. You were getting bank, 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 bank. I would have welts in my ass, man, from getting my ass beat. So consider that lucky. So anyway, that was that. Hell, even one time on the train tracks, we found a prison uniform. Like if somebody escaped prison and they left a fucking their striped fucking shit on the prison, their escape uniform or whatever, on the damn tracks. We found that, called the police. Police came out. There was some. As soon as all that shit happens, it's boring to me as a kid. I check out. I'm sure mom could tell you more about that if anything came of it and all that shit. But as soon as the fun was done, I checked out, moved on to the next adventure. I'm not sure what happened with that, but I remember we found that shit. It was a big deal. We used to put on the tracks behind us, so going east and west, we would always put like little pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and matchbox cards on the rail ties. Come back the next day or whatever, and flat, all flat. Shit, it's just fun, man. It was fun being a kid. Hell, and even in the wintertime, man, we would, on that field that was next to me to the east, we would, snowball, man. You get a snowball to start it off like this, and you put it on the ground and just start pushing it. Next thing you know, that shit's huge, right? So we used to try to make igloos and shit out of there in that field, try to stack it and make an igloo hut. We'd get all right. It'd be all right. What I remember, it wasn't perfect, but it was something. It'd stay there for a while, then melt away, obviously. But it was fun. That was the winter time. Never had to shovel the shit. Wasn't big enough to shovel the shit. Just played in it and threw it at each other. So a lot of, growing up, I never hated snow until I got to New York, and that's a whole other story. That's part 20 something probably from this one. But what else? What else can I talk about at that time? Well, I remember we used to catch fireflies with in a glass bottle. If you don't know what a firefly is, or a lightning bug, they every couple seconds they would pulsate, turn fluorescent green, and then die off. Fluorescent green and die off. You know what I mean? So you can see them scattered everywhere, and you just go around and collect them, put them in a jar, and shit, they'd be glowing all night, man, up and down. Or if you're heartless like I was, you would have a couple on the sidewalk and you smash them and smear it, and then it would glow for a couple seconds and then dissipate. Yeah, that happened. So, all right, guys, it's been 25 minutes or so. I'm gonna check out. We'll come back for part 2 in a couple days, and then we'll continue on until we get caught up. Peace out.